Got Sheertex, I guess, now on its dying deathbed with the founder kind of stepping down. I think we all typically know what that means. I just went for a long walk. Man, I forgot to go to my mail. I have a couple pieces of mail that are coming in, 2 mail orders for tights today. So I have some really fun tights that are coming in, and I'm excited to check them out. One was in response to a video that I made earlier the past 30 or so days. So excited about that. What else is going on? It's pretty quiet out there. Yeah. Dress socks, talking about how Sheertex is hopefully a prototype for something in the future. I was thinking about that today, like when you have companies that, let's just say I was the company that, or if I was the CEO that was brought in after Catherine, it wouldn't surprise me to be that guy that has to shut the organization down and find, effectively wind down the assets and effectively sell them off. It'd be really neat to have like a Louis Vuitton or like a manufacturer like Wolford, ideally, to be able to do it to help kind of strengthen those those premium items, because they'll be able to take the R&D that they've already started and continue to iterate. I think Sheertex was onto something, even though their quality kind of, I'll call it, decreased over time. They still were getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner, and I think that eventually if you can start putting those into tights like Wolford and companies that expect a higher price point, being able to implement that at a more mass scale, I think there's something there. But I think the application needs to be beyond tights and hosiery. It needs to be, frankly, in a lot of delicate fabrics and stuff. But I think it's a great question. What else are you guys thinking about? Yes, that provincial loan is really interesting to me as kind of a business nerd. I really grieve the fact that 85% of Sheertex's revenues came from the United States, because in a way, when they needed funding, it was just really bad timing, just in regards to the political rhythms. So it's a shame that they ran out of cash, right around that time. And again, I did not do a lot of homework on that, so I want to disclaim that I'm not necessarily fully up on the story. But the fact that they had the provincial loan and that they were getting great investments from Team Canada, like, I want to see manufacturing like that, but you can't necessarily have 85% of your revenue be exports. Do I think the pantyhose women are a comeback? Because I'm seeing a lot of women in pantyhose than in men wearing pantyhose. I have a question back for you. I love Pantyhose 8 is, where do you live? Are you out of Europe? And if you're in, let's just say, the United States, where in the United States would you be located? And I guess I'll ask it again. Are there any Nintendo fans out there? I don't think we're going to see, I think, just to kind of take I love Pantyhose's question at face value, I hate to break it to you, I don't think we're going to see a lot of dudes in tights. But I feel like for those that are willing to express themselves that way, I think that that's all we can ask for. I think it is, I just feel like men in tights are a minority, and I don't feel like it's going to have some major breakthrough to where men will wear them more than women in my lifetime. I like the fact that they're high tech. They've really changed the way that I think about a wardrobe. I think they're dynamic. I think that they can change conversations, especially as like a masculine, like a heteronormative looking man. I'm able to change some dialogues with people that I come into contact with, but even I don't feel fully comfortable. Like, I walked over to the mall to go pick up a package, and I don't really feel fully comfortable walking. Cool. So Kansas City, Missouri, that's really cool that you're seeing more women wearing tights. So I would say that in Missouri, what I would expect is just continued more and more and more men in spandex. And the closest you'll get is, I don't know, I feel like the United States has really picked up on bicycling kits. And so if people are looking for tight-fitted men's clothing that has spandex, I think the closest you're going to get is spandex tights. Which I know for a lot of us isn't the same. I think the closest we ever really got was like with sporting figures. So sporting figures like Ronaldo, who would wear kind of more compression tights, or like what looked like sheer pantyhose as compression in order to recover. And I think that was kind of a phase for companies to try to kind of fabricate fabricate some type of like, hey, if you wear these, you'll recover better as kind of a justification to sell more tights. So as much as I would love to say that we'll see a lot more men out there wearing, I think we still have a long way to go. But that still doesn't mean that we can't be excited about the progress that's being made. So I don't want to discount those things, but also I think it's important to have the right perspective. Welcome, everybody. A couple things were kind of raised, but I am just checking in on a couple of different things. Today was the new Nintendo Switch launch. Secondly, tariffs were announced. So we were talking about hosiery and tariffs and taxes and imports, especially coming from China or even Sheertex from Canada. And then thirdly, my mental health posts last night. If anybody has any questions, I'm willing to answer them as directly as I can, to provide some additional context. But even the way I'm feeling now is still the same as I was yesterday. I'm not feeling exactly the same energy levels, of course, but just I still feel that same challenge of when I'm done with this, resting and recharging. Nixter, don't worry about it. So I love pantyhose. I think what's interesting with women in pantyhose and women in tights here in the States is unless you're in New York City into high fashion, and if you're a woman that's into high fashion around the country, typically pantyhose and tights are not really worn here in the States. We've been really encouraged to wear athleisure wear. So like men and women are expected to invest the $100 to $120 in Lululemon and in all of these higher end brands. That's where the money is going rather than into formal wear, which I think hosiery tends to get lumped into. That's where the majority is headed, and it's pretty obvious over the last 20 years. Like, you don't go to an event and unless it's like a Christmas party, which is like my favorite time of the year because those are the times when you'll see the most tights and pantyhose on everybody. But what I do believe is that we have more spandex and lycra being worn than ever before. It's just not sheer, and it's more like leggings and pants. But what I do think that provides is an opportunity for higher class dress. So like the opportunity of dressing up more, the opportunity of wearing a suit and have it be higher impact, the opportunity to wear a cardigan or a button down and look professional. Like with everybody dressing down, it's an opportunity for us to be non-uniform and dress up. And I think the more that you dress up, it can be an advantage if you want to wear hosiery, because it's like you're like, without going too far, like you can elevate your wardrobe and then like take a complete left turn and wear hosiery with it and be like, I know what I'm doing here. And I think that is a very intriguing thing that I'm able to pull off. Cardigan, button down, tucked in shirt, shorts, overall fitness that I'm able to take advantage of. And then like fly shoes, like making sure my shoes are really relevant to what is a unique look that represents my style and my vibe. Wearing these are Nike Dunks, which are a little bit faded in regards to like the overall, time. They're becoming a lot more commoditized, but these are special ones because these are the LGBTQ pride ones. And in fact, these are cool because like you can actually rub away this white right here will actually turn colors over time. The more I wear them, they will actually reveal the rainbow underneath it. And so it's kind of like if you know type, thing. So I typically like to wear shoes that are relevant, that balance things out. Because obviously I'm an overthinker with that. So I feel like I'm able to take advantage of dressing up one level, but then wearing hosiery to keep that. Meaning like I'm trying to dress smart, elegant, and then be able to have that hold or sustain a look with tights. I don't know if that helps. Oh, I love pantyhose. I see that you're in there. Andre, if you're in here, I mean, you talk about high-end fashion. If you guys aren't following Andre and his beautiful expression, you're missing out. They're incredible. I would love to get a conversation with him to be able to kind of hear a little bit more of his story. What else is going on? Any other questions? I don't really want to talk until there's a question. Give people an opportunity. How did I find my confidence to wear openly? I found my confidence in the pain of not wearing. I found my confidence in pain of hiding. I just couldn't hide anymore. I couldn't hide anymore because it was impacting the people around me that I was the closest to. So my wife at the time, my wasn't impacting my kids directly, but of course it was like impacting my partner. So with that, it cascades down into the ability to being the best person I can be, for my kids. And, with that. So, I can't keep an answer that simple, but it is like, it's from the pain. It's like, if I know that I'm in pain because I'm too afraid to wear and to be myself, what are other people who have the similar interests that even may just want to see it on women, but women aren't wearing here in the United States as much. So then they just are like, well, I want to see dudes in tights, or I'll start wearing behind closed doors. And I think that is like, it's understandable. Like, I've interviewed hundreds of dudes, and like, I'll see everything, like from guys that, wear themselves but are still into women, but like they'll want to play in tights with another guy who's really into them. I've seen, I'm mesmerized by all the manifestations that I've seen. That's why I'm so curious about everything. I love every person's individual story because I find it to be a kaleidoscope. But I think the common element is very correlative to a book I read about LGBTQ of gay men called The Velvet Rage. It's kind of a polarizing book, so I don't have an opinion about it. But the thing I like is that there's three things. You have your foreclosed, you're overcompensating, and then you're kind of assimilated or integrated. And so for me, I was in the foreclosed of like, I could never, ever be able to wear publicly. And then like, once I was able to, like, I knew from experience that there's like this overcompensating phase that when somebody new comes out as gay, for example, it's kind of neat. There's like a little lens flare with some of the sun that's peeking through, is that there's typically an overcompensation. This would be, okay, cool. Like, now I have a little bit more freedom. I'm going to just go do a bunch of fetishized pantyhose and nylon stuff, potentially behind closed doors, but also potentially like trying to find people to hook up with, or doing it publicly and going all in and being, tights or everything, for example, because I had it so far down and it was like a spring, and then it just like has to pop out. There's this concept that Alan Downs talks about in the book that's called like effectively the overcompensating, or the, like, not flamboyant, that's not the right term, but just like over the top expression. And a lot of times that's from the pain that we all have. And then the third is like integrating it. And I joke, this is my words, but effectively it's a gay couple in the suburbs that are not needing to just identify with all the gays, that effectively have integrated themselves into the community as normal couple. And that's kind of where I feel like I have gotten in my walk. Was when I started Nylon Seattle, I was starting to go from overcompensating by bringing it out in my relationships, by bringing it out in, sexual intimacy, but then cascading it down into more of like integrated into my life, which again is why I always tell people to wear for 30 days straight and see what it does if you're somebody who has a lot of fetishized expressions with your tights. Sheer dress socks, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a very kind thing to say. It's a privilege to be able to express in a way that is uniform in a lot of ways, but also I don't take that lightly, because it's also an opportunity for me to be polarizing to what typically is expressed, because I could say safe in that. And it's funny, the more pain I'm in, the more physically, like right now, I think I don't even know what my weight is, because I like weigh myself every day, but I weigh myself in like a kind of scale that doesn't show me the weight. But like in that photo yesterday, I looked skinny, and like even I can tell, but typically that means like I'm in a lot of pain. And so, those are a couple of things. But getting back to the original question, where did I get the confidence to wear so openly? It comes back to the pain. And I had a choice. Do I compensate and let the world tell me what to do? Do I let my partners tell me what to do? Of course I want to accommodate their needs as like a partner. I think we all do, but it comes at a cost to ourselves. And as I talked about last night, like, I'm trying to find like a place for me to relax. So after this call, this is very stimulating because I know people are watching me. I'm obviously opening up my home to you guys. after this is done, like, how do I rest and relax? The Nixter, at what age? Sensory connection to tights and pantyhose. In other words, when did you recognize? Yeah, so I would say between 5 and 8, I just had an affinity for the nylon tuxedo socks. And then I believe I first wore at the age of 8. I went to a pumpkin patch wearing burgundy tights underneath navy gray sweatpants and sweated my ass off. It was so humid and so much hot. Like, I thought tights were going to be like really comfortable and like breathe well, but they were very suffocating. And I did not like the feeling. I will not lie. Like, but I loved the sensation of touching them on my legs and things like that. When did I know that I got the nylon gene? I think after, kind of in my 20s, where it was like, okay, through the fetish and through puberty and all that stuff, I just knew that I had an affinity for the hosiery and like the sensation and the look and the feel that I think a lot of us have. I do think it's something that we're born with, but I also think it's something that's socially curated, because it's like, if I'm attracted to like a blue color more than a green color, and I have an affinity for a green color, like, why do I have an affinity for, tights and hosiery? But then why do other people have such an affinity for tights and hosiery? And the one thing I always think about is, if women had continued to wear at the same rate, would I be as interested in wearing myself? I don't know if I have that answer, but I believe the answer would be I would still have the interest. I just don't think I would be as out about it. I don't know if that makes any sense. How hypocritical is society? Are we supposed to adhere to gender norms? Why can't men wear nylon, speed and silk shirts, but not hosiery? Like nylon Speedos, I'm guessing. If I had that answer, sheer dress socks, I feel like I would be rich. Meaning, like, what is the reason why it's so hypocritical? I think that I'll say this: I don't think it's exclusive to hosiery. I don't think hosiery is the problem. I think that the gender norms are the problem, and I know that that's inherent. But like, I think gender norming clothes and gender norming in general is a characteristic. It's it's a biological safety mechanism. Like, I don't want to turn to psychology here, but like, effectively, when you fill out a form, right, here in the States at least, you have to, like, sometimes you have to answer if you're white, Asian, Hispanic, etc. Like, there is a categorization, and there's safety in categorization. Is there discrimination? Absolutely. But like, there's an exclusivity and inclusivity. There's a majority, there's a minority, and it's never going to be like equal. And so one of the unfortunate results of living in a society that has conflict of what, progressives want, but then also what traditional people want, is traditional people want uniformity and safety and uniformity. In my opinion, progressives would want individuality and people to live their own individual express lives as however they want to. And so I think you're hearing a loud vocal side of the traditional people who want uniformity that are imposing desires on the community being just people who want to be more independent. And I think it is one of those things that I actually am hopeful that will change. I don't think we'll see 1 million men in tights, but I do think that people will have less and less and less and less and less and less and less control over you, because of the internet is in our favor. The internet and awareness is in our favor as a sterilizing device. There's many, many problems with the internet, but the internet is a sterilizing device because people now can connect like we are around the world, and it's only a matter of time now before that awareness and things like that. The Nixter has a comment in there. Nick, I wish I could like understand, but I think I know what you're saying, which is like, are you talking more about like, when you say like the trembling and euphoria and everything, was it the forbidden nature of wearing a garment as exciting as nylon and pantyhose because of just the actual fabric? And it's okay, like, if you're not willing to share it. Is it because you had femininity and actually a gender orientation with it? Like, wow, it made me feel really feminine and I have a feminine energy, and like women's hosiery made me feel more feminine. gave me like, I wanted to throw heels on with them. Like, and again, like if you're comfortable saying that, and then, maybe can you contextualize it? Like, is it the sensory side? Is it a blend of sensory plus femininity? Is it sensory, not femininity, but then it's like a voyeuristic thing of like, I know this is super forbidden, so I'm going to do it. And that feels so exciting because I know I'm getting away with something that maybe I couldn't. And then, Nixter is opening up the question to everybody. Nice. I love pantyhose with a huge order. I'd love to hear more about that order. Perfect. Thanks, Sheer. Cool. Yeah. And again, I hope you guys can feel through my tone that like, I love all expressions in that way, but I do think it's important to like figure out like what you relate to, because it can help contextualize maybe what the challenges are from a little bit more nuanced angle. I absolutely felt the same trembling from a forbidden sensory nature. No dudes I knew would ever wear hosiery. The stealing of tights and pantyhose from my mom and bring them back. I was like so excited to get back to my room and go into the bathroom and wear them, and either put them on underpants or, put them on, in bed. And I want to be careful on how much I talk about this because of just the age I was at. But like, there is something that was very remarkable about how much dopamine, serotonin, excitement, and I would argue euphoria around that experience. And that is something that's hard to explain to somebody. I don't have a reason as to why it was so forbidden, but I think it was just like I had wanted to do it for so long that finally getting those moments to meet my needs and allowing myself to do it was such self-love. Next, I think people are pretty graceful. And Sheer, I appreciate you speaking into that. Anybody else have any experience for Nick that could help with his question? But I think it's a really good one. Even if it was more feminine and things like that, I think it's still a similar answer, which is like finally meeting one's needs. I look like a freaking psychologist with like or a therapist with like my cardigan on. But like, I think meeting one's own needs can be very, very exciting and very, very intriguing. So like when I went to Folsom Street and wore the bodysuit, for example, and for those fans that have been here, I appreciate it. For those that may not know, I went to Folsom Street Festival in San Francisco over the summer, and I took the post down because it's like, for many reasons around like workplaces and things like that, because it was a little bit more of a flirty pick. There was some euphoria there that was much lower grade than what I think Nick, like to respond to Nick's part, like when I was a kid, it was like euphoria. What I felt like at Folsom Street was a hybrid blend of maturity, adulting as well. Like, I'm an adult, I can choose to do this, like a maturity aspect. But then also like a relief that I was absolutely expressing who I was. And because of that, I was grounded and regulated, but also very, very present because it was so much exposure, so much stimulation of just like having people see me in such an outfit. The sheer dress socks. I love it. By the way, I'm getting much more into sheer dress socks and like learning more about that. So I'd love to hear your story. So feel free to shoot me a DM. I really am trying to learn more about it. I look great in all types from sheers to opaque. Does my hosiery choice depend on how I'm feeling or more of a visual presentation? Dude, seriously, I respect to sheer dress socks tonight for like such like intentional questions. Like seriously, I appreciate that. It's really cool. I think that like from my expression, first of all, I live in Seattle. It's like London. It's more temperate and cool typically. It gets really hot in the summers as well, but it's all relative. And I typically do better. I sweat a lot. I'm always sweating. And so I grew up and it's a healthy thing. Like I sweat a lot and, X, Y, and Z. So I love colder temperatures. I love my house being like 65 degrees, which I think that's like, I don't know what it would be. Let me see here. What is 65 degrees Fahrenheit in Celsius? So like 18, I keep my house around 18 and 18 and a half degrees Celsius. And because of that, I typically tend to wear more semi-sheer and then opaques. And the reason being is when it's cold outside, wearing shorts already looks like a high contrast. But like today, when I was walking by a bunch of cars, I mean, everybody was looking. Like I had my sunglasses on, so I was able to do a little bit more staring, and everybody was looking, like every single person. But again, they could have been looking at my shoes. Dude, don't worry about it, man. Nixter, thanks for dropping in. But to get back to the question, I love sheers, man. I think sheers are fantastic. I think sheers are fun and are sexy and bring a lot to the nylon game. Absolutely. Like I'm not an idiot as it pertains to like that. Typically, like the higher the sheer, the higher the sexuality. The higher the sheer, almost in a way, it's like a flirtiness, it's a peacocking, it's kind of X, Y, and Z. I think my opaque choices revolve around the overall outfit and the impact. I typically am more uniform or center lined in all of my expressions. I like a little bit more of like a traditional classic fashion and design and tucked in shirts and proportions and tones and design and all of that stuff. So high contrast. So this contrasting with this is a lot. Like this is already contrasting a lot. So the more sheer that this is, then I'm wearing shorts. But now I'm wearing shorts that are this short. This is a lot of leg in comparison to like a long sleeve shirt or a button down. So like to me, the proportions don't look right. So I need a heavier coverage on the leg in order to have uniformity in the look to where I feel like it's a more complete outfit. So I typically, sorry about that. I typically like to wear my hosiery as part of an outfit more than letting the hosiery wear me, or like I'm trying to like, oh my God, I'm wearing hosiery to get you guys off and I'm going to go jack off later thinking about the fact that I got you guys all to jack off. Like that's not intriguing to me. What's intriguing to me is like meeting my own needs and thinking about, you know, a complete outfit, something that's actually something that I would want to see on the street, something that I think if a brand would see, that they would actually be able to relate to it and be like, wow, like, okay, that's like, that is a look that I potentially could get around. So I don't know if that's helpful. Sheer Dress Socks, 1234, one of the best names ever. But I don't know if that helps. Like even now, like I would love to take off my shoes, but I don't feel comfortable taking off my shoes, you know, because I don't want a voyeur on the other end objectifying or capitalizing me while I'm trying to have a serious conversation, you know, not like overly serious. You know, that's a good example too of like I'm trying to make sure that Nylon Seattle within a certain context is consistent in that full-fledged outfit or fashion of what I'm trying to market, which is I acknowledge that there's a lot of sexual and fetish and all that stuff, but my goal is to very much be a representation that there's also some professionalism. Not that I'm the face of professionalism, believe me, but like there's some professionalism, there's some gentlemanly energy there, and that we're all not just sex-fueled, you know, nylon fans. I think there's space for expressions of gentlemanly and professionalism, and even gentlemanly I know sounds gendered, but I think you get what I'm saying, like a classic decorum or esteem that one would hold themselves with. And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to hold myself up to. For those that have just come in, topics, I have my Nintendo Switch here. The brand new Nintendo Switch 2 came out. Expensive. We were talking Sheertex, import exports, giving economics lessons. Thirdly, I offered to talk about mental health. Kind of my post on stories last night, talking about what my experience is and how I can be like I am right now, which is present, calm, things like that, but still be struggling so much, you know, after the fact, and giving people a little bit of context there. Because I know people were concerned, which I really appreciate. You know, also I do have support structures, so I don't have to talk about that stuff, you know, etc. I don't know. Does that make sense on like the shoes thing? Like, you know, I do, you know, for those that are around, like I do have a Patreon for a lot of the people that ended up going off of Instagram, and, you know, by supporters and fans. I just wanted to let people know that I do post sheer sock photos, like when I have like a suit on or something like that, but also I do show feet photos that I take, because I've been taking feet photos of myself in my diary for years, but I don't typically like that to be a part of like the Nylon Seattle. So this isn't a solicitation to get you guys to pay, but I do have a Patreon. So if you're interested in taking a look at that, I'm absolutely like, you can just search for it. But I'm happy to give you a link on that. But if you are really into that and it's something that you want, I kind of have it as like a little bit of a perk, but it's not at all even the focus of, even the Patreon. The Patreon is to support the project so that, like the one thing you may have noticed is like a blue check. The blue check is effectively, so when I comment on a brand, it shows that I'm a serious person as it pertains to, communicating with them. Just keep up the good work. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. I appreciate you dialing in. Feel free to reach out to me in a DM or something like that. I'd love to hear more of your story. And yeah, it's almost like tag out, tag in. You guys are heading into winter, so hopefully you'll be able to wear more. If Trump's tariffs affect China, that might be the only good thing, because I'm sorry to say the quality of their hosiery isn't so great. Dude, a hot take. I believe Hanes legs were manufactured in the United States at one point. I don't actually know. So maybe if anybody in chat has GPT, I'd love to know what hosiery manufacturers actually manufacture in America. I know that American Apparel, for all of their hosiery and colors that they did, would manufacture in the United States back in the day. I think they also came out with Los Angeles Apparel and DOV. And I don't want to even promote him in many ways because he's a very polarizing character if you understand his background. But they had vertical integration within the United States. Maybe what needs to happen is Sheertex sells the Canadian entity and moves it down to the United States with all of its IP so that it can address 85% of its market share, and that's a wink, unfortunately, to Canada to get around the tariffs. It's just a really unfortunate timing with the tariffs, in my opinion. I think everything will sort itself out, but it's effectively currently political, economic warfare. I think everybody's just kind of like creating a tariff marketplace, and I think everything will sort out. It's just a really unfortunate time. I think you saw it today with the Nintendo announcement of 80 and 90, US dollars. Literally 80 to 90 US dollars for a video game. I'm not saying that's expensive, but it's like, that's a lot, because I have kids, and like when the kids want the game, like, and they play it for 25, 30 minutes and then they don't actually play it, like, it's hard for me to get excited about a $90 Mario Kart game. And that's just here in the United States. We are typically like the most subsidized of all of those video game places. And so these luxuries are really curbing consumption. I mean, which is kind of a good thing. We overconsume anyways, but, it's tough. I mean, obviously I overconsume, tights and hosiery. So yeah, which I will admit, like I've been getting rid of some of my used tights, not for money, but like I have been shipping some out. And so if you're interested, I probably would need to sell some of them, but like if you're interested, I'm happy to. Hi, as a trans woman, very nice to have you here. How are things? I'm glad you're here, and I hope you feel safe here. What else is going on? I feel like we're finally getting people in to kind of interact. I know we always have kind of a rotating door of people coming in. Like right now it says that there's like 7 people. So the more you put into chat, the better it is for me, because I know. And if you're not comfortable asking a question, I totally get that. As a trans woman, I basically only date men who are willing to wear tights and nylon socks. Are you a trans woman, 24/7? And if so, how do you go about making those connections? And how would somebody that you would be partnering with know that that is the prerequisite? Aussie, yes. The whole world is up in the air with today's tariff announcement. I'm hearing locals holding off on buying USA products until the situation settles down. Yeah, and I think it's going to impact, currencies and buying power. And I mean, this is typical economic policy, but I think like this is what happens if you want to get like nerdy with it. Type stagflation into your GPT, and it's a really interesting thing. Effectively, it's like when you have your traditional economic theory, and like when one thing goes one way, typically the other one goes down. But what if like it's kind of like a 3D where it's like, okay, this goes up, but this goes down, but we didn't actually see it go down because there was a different lever that's like propping this up. you get this like disjointed nature. And typically what happens like in weather patterns is if you have a hot and a cold weather pattern go together like that, you typically have like explosive type thunderstorms. That's I think kind of what you're seeing is you're seeing kind of this like moment where you had frothy, real estate investment markets, you had frothy, interest rates, you have stagnant home sales because of corporate entities being able to invest in real estate as an investment vehicle. Crypto markets has gotten a lot of money because nobody has any, like all the ultra wealthy don't have a place to put all their money. Here in the United States, we had this thing called the Special Acquisition, Corporation or SPACs. So you had all these ultra wealthy people have nowhere else to put their money. So they ended up dumping it into these moderate to terrible, private companies that they took public. And then they took all the money out of that and they were getting, anywhere between 15 and 40% returns. There's all these vehicles that are being used from my perspective that, make it a little bit harder. So very, very interesting. People are concerned for those living in the USA. Absolutely. I completely understand that. And I think the other thing though to understand is that we're pretty privileged here in the United States to be able to impose tariffs and taxes like this on other people. And I'm not saying like, oh, hell yeah. What I mean by that is that like we're not like London. We're not losing, people who are generating jobs here in the United States at a rate that we're generating them here in the United States. We have privileges here in the United States that, we're taking risks in order to bring, more economic development here in the States. And like, we have that flexibility to do it. It's still going to be extremely painful for people like myself, and people less fortunate than I am. It's going to be absolutely, very, very, very uncomfortable. So yeah, like I appreciate that, but the hope is that we got to get wages up. Like we can't keep having this inflation without wages coming up because nobody's gonna be able to buy anything. And so we're kind of like off the back of the boat, kind of like one of those inner tubes, and we're going around a curve. You don't want the rope to snap. And like, in a way, I think the rope has a lot of tension on it. And I believe in like long-term, I personally believe capitalism is the best of the worst as it pertains to economic development. But also there's obviously tremendous costs, and I don't want to turn this into a politics discussion because I don't reduce people's lives to dollars and cents. That's just not who I am. It's much more complicated than that. And as somebody who came up with access to money in a way that is not typical, I can't have an opinion other than my own experience. All right. But I appreciate the concern, and I appreciate people being patient with my commentary. I want to be balanced and try to be based in common sense, but also I represent only one opinion that is I try to be logical and common sense, but also it's still just one opinion, and I'm not super versed on it. All right, sheer dress stocks. How do we all unite for the common good and the ultimate acceptance? The hosiery community is diverse, bi, gay, straight, transgender, not so close-knit as you would think. Pardon the pun. I pause because I don't know how to like solve that in a verbal preach. If I start like going off, it'll sound like a preach. I think everybody just needs to be more welcoming, but then also advocating to make sure people feel safe. So how do you make sure people feel safe? Inclusion, make sure that people have the opportunity to share a voice. If they state an unpopular opinion, are you going to write them off because you're afraid or feeling like you need some protection? Totally okay to do so. Like you have the right to leave a conversation, but also like having tolerance to be able to sit with the discomfort of somebody else having a different opinion than you. But that's part of welcoming somebody in. And I think that I'm sure I've offended many people in the hosiery community as well. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but the beauty is the fact that we have so many different expressions that I hope that people can identify there. And one of the reasons why I take more of like a softer approach to it and not having as strong of an opinion about what others should do is the fact that I'm still trying to find out who I am in all of this. And so woe is me to dictate or evangelize or tell anybody what they should be doing. If anything, I want people to be attracted to the fact that I'm trying to live my own individual life. And if they want to come alongside of me, great, let's rally around it and let's continue to go. but I'm not here to tell people what to do. From my experience, that is exclusive and leaves people out, and it's okay to have boundaries and barriers like that. Sometimes you need people who are in and out, but I think the hosiery community, we already are marginalized enough that I would hope that people have tolerance to welcome people in, and frankly, we're not going to be able to please everybody, and so like I think just use your judgment to find people that are like you. Like, if you want to go hang out with people who are into just the sexual side of tights and hosiery, great. That's great. But it's not going to be everybody, and vice versa. Like, if I just was like, I don't ever talk about like, X, Y, and Z sex or show feet or whatever, and that's not your cup of tea, great. I think that's where we get the opportunity to make our paths known. Sheer dress sex. I don't know if that helps. I'm getting down to the next question. NRI gods. I use dating sites for straight men and those prefer trans women. I'm always open to my trans status, never trying to trick a man. I will always discuss my fetish at some point as we're getting to it. Very cool. So are you looking for typically hookups? And again, no judgment. Are you typically looking to hook up, or are you looking for romantic dates, or both? Stand up. Thank you, Nylon Stocks lover. I will stand up potentially. Most people do not subscribe to Donald Trump's agenda. Did my recent message cut off? It did. Right after we are getting to pantyhose wearing male. It's a very scary and unsafe time to live in the United States. Hot take. Thank you for being logical and not polarizing politically. I'm a strict independent, and I appreciate that. Not hookups, only long-term relationship. That's great. Yeah, and if you can have like a long-term relationship, with that, I think you can have a lot of fun, and bringing a fetish into a relationship or a kink can be really great. I think it's important though to be able to actually this is a complete side tangent. From my experience, like getting accurate with our honest truths. So like when people are like, oh, it's just a kink, or oh, it's a fetish, or oh, it's this, like, I think it's important to actually take time to understand try to get as accurate as you can for your partner. So it's like really, I really like tights. That's probably not fully accurate. Like tights are a need for me is more precise for me, but I really like them. But I may not be comfortable to say to somebody yet that I have a need because I'm warming up to it. So it's like, there's a difference, but that precision to just say it, I need them. I think the same thing with fetish and same thing with kink. For me, my understanding with fetish is that fetish is like a requirement for intimacy and play to be elevated and to actually be able to perform. Whereas a kink is putting lighter fluid on an already going fire. It takes a fire that already exists, an intimacy that already exists, and makes it incredible. So I think that's important. If people don't judge others because some are different to you, which is a shame within this little planet we call home, you're a good person and speak very sensibly. Thank you. That's very kind. And just for fun, I will stand up so you guys can see what the outfit is. So there you go. And I'm going to take off because it was warm, and all right, guys, it's almost an hour, so I'm going to probably head out here in a couple minutes. But anything else before we do? So much nicer. Always, I'll tell you, it's interesting. I identify as queer, and what I learned when I'm looking on dating apps is I ignore trans men. And I haven't looked for a couple years, but I found myself kind of bigoted by not being open enough to consider trans men. I feel like that's something that really intrigued me because I think there's assumptions there, and I find that to be intriguing. Well, thank you. Is my interest in tights a sexual fetish? It is not. It would be more of a kink. Do I ever feel that wearing tights is sort of body dysmorphia? Like when someone says their jeans make them look fat. Do you ever feel that wearing tights is a sort of body dysmorphia? Like when someone says their jeans make them look fat. I'm going to ask you, Sheer Dress Socks, to repeat the question. I get it, but I just want to make sure I understand it. Can you just restate the question? In regards, I'm not my tights, fam. Like, I am not my tights. Like, tights are just a small portion of me. And so I have no problem, like, answering the question. But I just feel like when people reduce me to one thing or objectify me to one thing, that is offensive to me because I'm such a, and you're not doing this, so I want to be very, very honest. But one of the reasons why I don't talk about like the sexual side and the fetish side, and I talk about this a lot, is that if you want tights and sexual fetish content, like it's not that it's not on Seattle. There's just so many better sites than Instagram. Like, holy moly! Like, I would encourage you to get off this live stream and go to any of those sites, including in-person stuff. Like, I know FetLife is out there, and other items. Like, don't, if that's what people want, get off of here and go get their kicks. Like, absolutely. But what I find more intriguing is meeting other humans that are trying to live their best life and are trying to integrate a tights and hosiery love, which does include fetish. Okay, it does include fetish, and so I'm not trying to play both sides. Like, that was my opinion, I will stand behind it. But also includes the fetish, and includes my kink, and includes people who don't have that kink that just love to wear it for what it is, or straight men that I know that don't really like dudes or like seeing a dick in tights or seeing a bulge in tights, that just love to see women in it, but they wear themselves because they don't have women around them to wear. Like, I embrace those people as well, but they like to wear as well for the sensory nature of it, and then have the sexual side that they have with their partner. And so, like, honestly, like, there's just so many better sites to get a sexual fetish on than Instagram, in my opinion. Go to Tumblr, go to all those other places, and I would always argue to people, get real with it. Go to a fetish night at a local club, and you don't have to be gay or lesbian to do it. You can go to straight ones too. Shoot, there it is. Thank you for that. How about that? Is that better? I'm gonna hold the mic now. Okay. So, do I need to repeat anything, or are you able to get that? The real Giancarlo is here. The real question is did Giancarlo check in to their gym by scanning their badge, which is an inside joke between me and Giancarlo. Hello. Can somebody write in chat that you can hear me now? Hello, hello, hello. 10. 5. Anybody still there? Oh, shoot. Okay. Shit. All right. Holy shit. My text wasn't going up. For me. All right, we'll continue here. In regards, for me, a man wearing nylon socks or tights is a must in order for me to function sexually. That I would deem a fetish. All right. Nice. Aussie, thank you for that. Very kind words there. Ignacio Sotelo. I'm going to go for it and try to pronounce that. Oh man, I didn't get to see Giancarlo get my heckle, if he's still here. All right. I got a couple more minutes and then I do need to jet. But any other thoughts or questions? Sure. I think it should roll up now because I'm at the bottom. Oh, Aries came in. Now chat's about to roll. Really, really heavy. Aries, what's going on, man? Are you rocking some Calzedonia tonight? If you're wearing, put it in the chat what you're wearing, by the way. I want to hear what people are wearing. Alex, can you repeat the question? Like, do you want me to like potentially announce upcoming lives, or do you want me to download them or be able to share them with you so you can watch? Why, thank you. These are semi-sheer, but more tight than I typically wear Sheertex. So they look very sheer, but yeah. So there's like an imperfection right here. That was a rip that I put some kind of like nail polish on, which is a tip. But yeah, I mean, Sheertex is just crazy. Like the ability of like just ripping them off. I love all of my content because by opening up Pandora's box, I help people to think outside the box and become more open, insightful, and introspective. I mean, that's like, I want to pin that comment and frame it. I mean, that's exactly why I did this project. Right now in my life, this project, like one of those comments goes a long way, because I will say that you're helping me gain the confidence, keep going in my own individual pursuit of my own mental health journey, because of how radical this is and like how it became like Like, frankly, I probably would have given up on this. I probably would have given up on Nylon Seattle. I'm ADD. I got my kicks. I'm done. I can't believe I have over 1,000 followers. Like, I can't believe I've even continued to make content. I'm starting to get bored with content. You know, like, I'll be honest, like, I only have so many different pairs of shorts. Like, that's like one of the things too. Like when I started the Patreon, I'm like, I'm probably just going to take some of this like support and pledge, because like my promise is effectively to pledge, you know, to plow the money back into, you know, the project is like for things like giveaways and stuff, but like also to potentially like build a wardrobe out so I can go thrifting and get some better shorts or get some new hosiery that we can try. I just got 2 new shipments of hosiery, one from a company that wants me to try out some tights, and then another one from a friend and a fan. And so I'll be wearing those. And typically in my posts, I'll put a gift box next to people who gift me tights, because if I'm wearing them, I want to represent them. I also don't want to solicit that, or I don't want to like, of course, if you want to send me something, of course, that would mean a lot to me, but also that's not what I'm trying to do. It's more of like, if you wanted my opinion or take on it, I'm happy to do that. But that's what, you know, I'm able to do now. So I like I said, if you're interested, like I have not promoted this at all, and I've been waiting for it to be more organic. But for people that have gone off of Instagram, I thought it was a great way for me to be able to put my content in a neutral place, but then also have people support the platform in any way, shape, or form. And it's not about the money. I have the money, especially with all the people that are there, but I have some perks in there for people that may want to have like special interest to see like feet photos and stuff. All right, pantyhose wearing male. Why don't you reach out to me off the side and we'll talk about how to do that? I'm happy to talk with you about that. I think the key with like sending me tights and hose is like to make sure that it's done in a way that like clear communication, so that you know what to expect by sending it to me, and then like vice versa, like so that like I don't want to disappoint anybody with a false promise. That's all I'm trying to say there. But yeah, please do reach out to me. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are and things like that. So I'm always open to that type of stuff. Like I've had people reach out to me. It's like, hey, can I buy your used tights? And it's like, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that, but now that I have so many, it's like, if somebody really wants a pair, sure. Like I'm happy to send it to them. It's just really hard sometimes when people are like, oh, I live like overseas, and you know, then like I don't want to create some expectation there. All right. And let's see here. But I'm happy to wear a pair. If there's a pair that you would like for me to try, I either have them and I can wear them, or you can send me a pair. Ignacio, or confidence that I can and that I do not lose my manhood, nor do I stop being productive and I can be a father. Thank you so much for those kind words. You know, I have to balance a lot, and like that's part of why I have to keep there's a cool incentive structure around me. Like I have to be professional enough to where if somebody saw me at work, they wouldn't necessarily fire me because of like overly sexual content. I have to be able to do something to where if my son or daughter was to be tuning in right now, that they would feel confident that I'm upholding, you know, as a dad, their honor and integrity as kids. Like I think about that. If I had a partner, I would be doing the same thing. Like, am I representing them well? Am I representing myself well? And lastly, like as I continue to get to know myself, like am I honoring and do I really want to do this? And like for me, what I want to do is I created this for myself to be able to give back something that I would have killed to have had at like age 18. Like it would have changed the trajectory, because I would have been able to actually show a partner this blog that I have to like help them understand like this is like what I have experienced and like what I am going through, and that relatability. And that's what's been given to me in so many other aspects. Like as a compulsive overeater, like I have people in my life that I know that have helped me in that. Sheer dress socks. Tights are not a prerequisite or physical for, all right, tights are not a prerequisite for physical or emotional intimacy. It's about what makes me comfortable, safe, and establishing friendships and human connections. Exactly. By the way, Sheer Dress Socks 1234 is winning tonight's chat, and I'm sorry to like compare all y'all, but the quality of the intentionality of their, you know, commentary, very refreshing to see that. I think there was a question though that, okay, Sheer Dress Socks though, I asked you to restate the question that you had above, is that the same? Thank you, Pantyhose Wearing Man. I appreciate it. It's something I take very seriously, and I think I have a list of men's tights wearers that are like-minded that is probably at this point between 8 and 15 people that I would want to hang out with anyways without tights, like without tights even being a part of it. What I'm attracted to is adult communicators that are respectful, that can compartmentalize whatever their affinity is with tights and hosiery to have an adult conversation. If it slips out the side, that's fine, but like it really just needs to come down to like, I'm looking for human connection, like Sheertex said, you know, like we have a like interest, but like we could have like interest about like literally what I wanted to talk about, the Nintendo Switch. Like I love the Nintendo Switch, not as much as tights, but like I love my Nintendo Switch. I love playing video games. I love playing pinball. I love playing Tetris. You know, I love all of these things, but like those are interests. Tights are more than an interest, but also it's not what defines me. Like I'm very excited for the upcoming Masters golf tournament. It's a tradition that I watch and I've been to, and it was absolutely incredible. And yes, I wore tights too. Somebody has worn tights to the Masters golf tournament. So checkbox is, you know, is that, which is like, we need to be humans in our human expression. And I want to show people that you can have both. And there's nothing wrong with again, I want to repeat, there's nothing wrong with a fetishized expression of tights. There is nothing wrong with it. I've been there. I was fetishized and all that stuff. And there's no stigma around that. I'm just stating that like having a more regulated approach and an open mind for people that may just be into it for fashion, that may not want to be approached for sex, you know, or sexual stuff. Like if you've reached out to me and you've opened with, you know, a sexual photo, like what you won't get from me is you won't get an instant report. I will not report you directly to Instagram because I believe everybody is given an opportunity to correct themselves. So I give people the opportunity to correct themselves. And if you don't, then as people have seen that are longstanding fans of myself, you're increasing the likelihood that I'm going to blur out, you know, the name of who you are. And I'm going to post it on the story and probably put one of my cutout stickers on there, you know, or sit on the proverbial tights throne chair that is one of my favorites. And the last thing I need you to become is me sitting on your, you know, your butt, effectively being like, who the hell is this sending me an unsolicited butt pic in nylon? Like, I'm not here for it. But also it's really, really funny that people think that they can get away with it. It's like the whole concept of like a dick pic, like women always talk about. Like, it's just like you think I'm going to be impressed with a dick pic? Like, there's no face to it. There's no body to it. Like, it's just not interesting to me. Like, to me, it's actually just such a turn off because it's frankly unsophisticated. Boy toy coming in right when I'm saying things like unsophisticated dick. So there we go. All right. Any other questions? See, when Aries comes into chat, he always seems to get me going and talking a lot. And that's just how it goes. In Boyden, you love tights and Switch. What is the game that you're most excited about, either on the Switch 2 or a game that you're playing right now, and your favorite tights that you're currently wearing? So are people frustrated with, like, it was already pretty hard ordering Chinese tights on Amazon.com or eBay and having them take 2 to 3 weeks in order to get there. But are we now willing to, you know, pay additional taxes and tariffs, you know, on top of it? I think it's going to be really interesting to, you know, kind of see how the Chinese manufacturing markets, you know, kind of handle that. Ignacio, I think that there's a whole socio-cultural context around the tight subject, especially because women appropriated this garment and made it one of their secret weapons of seduction. Woof. What a comment. I want people to, I'm going to read that one again. Ignacio, I think you have a really, really good comment there. I think that there's a whole socio-cultural context. I'm actually going to take a photo of that. 1 second here, because I am going to probably repost that with your permission. I think that there's a whole socio-cultural context around the tight subject, especially because women appropriated this garment and made it one of their weapons of seduction. Like, I kind of want to get that cross-stitched and put on my wall. And in regards, I will get to your question here or your comment in a second. That kind of gets to the point I was trying to make earlier about like straight men who end up wearing pantyhose, even though they may not want to wear pantyhose because they, from a seduction standpoint, are so seduced by women in nylons, but then their women don't give it to them that they end up wearing themselves. And because they wear themselves, then they get aroused and turned on. And then they open themselves up to being with other men just to play as it pertains to, while still being kind of mentally, seduced to women. So it'd be like here in the States, we have Hooters, which, is kind of dead now, I guess. But effectively men who would be into tan and nylons that would go to Hooters. And so, effectively the only way men could get their hosiery fix was to wear. And effectively, I think you created a whole weapon off of that seduction. So I think I've never thought about it in that way of like the appropriation. And if somebody in chat can actually define for me what appropriation is, like my brain, I know what it is, but I would love like a definition if somebody could put that in there. I am Boyden playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Did you get to see the Switch 2 update that they're talking about, bringing out some enhancements there? Pantyhose wearing male. I would love to see the manufacturing of hosiery come back to the United States. Very, 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 very true. Can somebody do some research as well and see if legs had U.S. manufacturing of their tights here in the United States, or if there are any other US based? Getting back to Regards, who identifies as a trans woman, the fetish side of my love for men in nylon is also blended with enjoying seeing it as fashion. I wear pantyhose and nylon trouser socks all the time. It's mainly fashion. I'm going to say as it's predominantly manly fashion. Let's see here. I appreciate your comment. There's something that's so nice about a silhouette of a nylon leg or ankle that goes from the pant to the foot. I think it's just that simple. I'm attracted to that. I was always an ankle peeper for dudes in suits because I always wanted to see if they're potentially were going to wear like softer nylon socks. And I don't identify as a socks fetishist. I really don't. Like, as much as I find it to be hot. Like, I was never really attracted to like a dude in a suit just because like he was going to wear shears. It was more of just like, I wanted to see like a sheer sock go into a leather shoe. And like, for some reason, like men's dress socks typically have like a thinner gauge. So I typically would have a little bit more intrigue to ankle peep. Ignacio, women made it exclusive of them because they did not want men to play a very specific role in their lives too. Interesting. I'd like for you to continue that comment with one more. Aries dropping the Maryland keys. Really, really nice. My guess is that you're wearing the black. The legs and Hanes are recently manufactured in El Salvador. That's right. But back in the 70s, they were produced in the United States. Is there any US-based producers since American Apparel? Angelo, what's going on? Angelo, we are talking Sheertex, Nintendo, and Tariffs. Considering that you're from Canada, you already have Tariffs and Sheertex checkboxed. But my understanding, pantyhose wearing male, is that American Apparel, which created tights similar to like We Love Colors, had American vertical integration. So did they actually import theirs? That's a trivia question. And I'm going to insert some Jeopardy music, but I'm not going to do it. But that'd be a really intriguing research article for all of us nylon nerds. Angela, are you getting similar weather to what we got here today, which was literally every 15 minutes it was either sunny, raining, or cloudy? Canada is not happy. You can say that much. Pantyhose wearing male, can you clarify? Yes, American Apparel was vertically integrated in the United States. And then if so, can you look up Los Angeles Apparel and see if they do the same thing and if they were able to leverage those assets? Yeah, it was crazy today. I went out for a walk and it was like sunny. We had a good dialogue going on about really around, we have the traditional topics of men, women, fetish, non-fetish, spectrum, around that. And then early on, we were talking around Sheertex, and because I'm wearing Sheertex, these are Sheertex semis. 85% of Sheertex's business was in the United States, with them being provincially supported, I believe in Montreal, supported by the Canadian, government and entities there. Getting that funding, almost is like kind of interesting, because if 85% of your revenue base is in the United States, out of like New York and Los Angeles, let's just say, due to high fashion, 85% was all of us. Let's just be real. Like, we were all supporting them, right? But the it's intriguing to think like if they run that company and sell off the assets, or if they could just move their HQ to the United States and move their manufacturing facilities. But I don't believe that they did. I think they built their Sheertex labs just now up there in Montreal. All right. Harvey Fields, thanks for coming in. I don't typically let people come into the live unless they reach out to me on the side. So people like Aries and Angelo, who I've talked to for a while, if I just kind of know what they're going to be able to offer on live, I'm happy to do it. So I like to let everybody know that. So if you ever want to be on a live, just reach out and we can do a quick chat and stuff. I have no problem with that. I just want to make sure people know kind of like those expectations. Ignacio, I don't think men wouldn't want to weather tights. Many like them, even are curious to wear them. But I'm guessing role that is imposed socially and by their families could be the problem. I don't know. I don't think men wouldn't want to wear their tights. Many like them, even are curious to wear them. But the rone that is imposed socially and by their families could be the problem. I agree with that comment. Angelo is agreed with. Afternoon from Jamie down under. We had Aussie 13 and earlier. Sheer Dress Socks 1234 dropping bombs tonight. Sorry, everybody else is just unable to keep up with the domination of Sheer Dress Socks 1234 over the course of the last hour. When a major manufacturer dedicates itself to promoting male hosiery with anatomically correct options, we still have a chance to mainstream in society. What if I told you I disagree with that? And I'll give you the pause like a podcaster would. I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. I would absolutely love it because I want to provide more safety for everybody, but it doesn't matter. Would it be great to have more male-oriented options, male-marketed options, things like that? I think it would be healthy. So I'm not discounting the desire, but I also think like it doesn't matter. Frankly, like us nerds, like I think we rush to a lot of female-oriented, hosiery that's only marketed to females because they're just higher quality and better feeling. And so like some of the most comfortable hose are the ones that have like the dual seam in the back that I wear backwards because it's more comfortable to wear because it fits the male anatomy better. Threads will have their Threads for Men version 2.0 that are coming out. I was on their mailing list. I got an email today about it. So there's exciting things that are happening. And if you haven't checked out Threads, I'm not sponsored by them. And if in fact, I've been super impressed with them because if anything, I've been hard on them. They've been very receptive to my feedback, and I'm sure everybody else's feedback on their male, tights. But they have, frankly, in my opinion, carried the torch for the most engineering done on a men's tight. And for that, I love it because there's a lot of men who need that protection. So if their partner was to find out that they bought hosiery, this is supporting men, and it is a safety mechanism. Absolutely. I know Confalon and the men's hosiery like Emilio in Europe, as well as Active Skin, were ways that I was able to purchase hose and tights and still have the protections. Agree to what Aries is saying. Agree to pantyhose wearing male. Like more is better. But I want to also take a shot that it doesn't matter at that point, because I think as a take, it's just a shock to be like, we don't need to wait. I mean, that's really kind of what it is. Plus, don't limit yourself to the amazing options that are out there. If you've not tried a Wolford Neon 40, like get off of here, go save your money, or go do some Uber driving and get a Wolford Neon 40. Sign off, like say deuces, I'm out of here. I'm going to go Uber and get $40 and go get, Wolford. And I guess do it before the tariffs come in. But then also like make sure that you're supporting Threads. So like, for example, I wrote a question to Xenia off of the email today to make sure I fully understand if I was to purchase a Threads for Men, not just for Nylon Seattle, but like as a true genuine purchase, like out of my pocket. I want to make sure I fully understand what the product is. Like, for example, right now on their website, it's $37 for the tans or naturals. And then, it's $54 for black. Like, I didn't understand the difference. So things like that, I think were interesting. Sheer Dress Socks, not liking the Threads. Aries is out of here. Threads male products were a good attempt, but unisex is superior. Ignacio, or I think change should start with convincing women that their man wearing tights is still the protector, father, husband, etc. that she wants, maybe we need to work in that prototype or model. I appreciate that take. I think that traditional household stereotypes, I guess you would call it, or traditional male-female stereotypes versus progressive stereotypes that are more individualistic, there will always be a tension there. In fact, there's YouTube videos out there that actually talk about that have been recent around like trad men, TRADMEN, and progressive men, talking about, male roles. And I think it highlights the concept that they talk about there. Jamie, shut up. 150 Aussie dollars for Neon 40. I guess jokingly, that just means you have to do 3 Uber drives in order to get that. Mexico City, very good to see you. And Mexos Ignacio, I'm guessing guys are both from there. Huge Mexican pride in the tights community. I love seeing it. I think they're almost outplaying the United States right now in regards to like meetups and support and things like that. So very, very appreciative of Team Mexico and its contributions to the tights community. Angelo repping Team Canada. We need some more Team Canada representation, my guy. If a woman needs convincing that her man is still a protector, then she's unlikely to embrace male wearing. Fair point. As the dialogue continues, just make sure that people respect each other's opinion. And in my opinion, it's okay to disagree. When what I've seen, Mexicans are loving pantyhose. Yes, I would agree with that. I agree. There seems to be a cohesive community in Mexico and in parts of Asia. Yes, absolutely. I will say this, and Angelo has been down to be a part of the community when we had kind of a meetup of, Angelo, you can maybe help me out. Like, it was really an interesting thing. I think we said we had over 100 years of tights wearing experience together. We had like Oscar, you, and then a bunch of other kind of like people in Seattle for like a dinner where we had just a wealth of internet-based tights wearers that were public about it, here. So we had that. I just don't think we really publicized it, at the time. I think it was just really getting to enjoy the fellowship, behind it. But that was really fun. And then I find it interesting because I think Mexico is really intriguing because I think there's the machismo, based on my understanding from Oscar and stuff, that they're starting to change, but it's still, very slow moving around safety. So being more collective and supporting each other in groups is a way to be able to do it. Whereas, unfortunately, here in the United States, we're a little bit more, independent, individualistic, which is tough because it takes more for people to trust each other. Yeah, I think the person that I just absolutely, of course I love, Hola Trio, but I really I think the like person who I look up to the most and who's having the most fun and having the most joy, I'll just say it outside of Angelo, is holy moly, Anthony Christopher. Like, he gets my award for having the most fun. His outfits, his joy, and whatever he's expressing, whatever he's, doing is just, it's incredible. He's just so positive. In regards with a great take, I agree with your take there. Sheer dress socks, strength in numbers at tights meetups and fellowship, a formidable force even with looks from the normies. Yes, sheer dress socks. After being in Europe and in London for a meetup, being in San Francisco for a meetup, being at a meetup here in Seattle, even for me, self-admitted, like, I don't really like, for example, I'm learning that if I had all my friends here and we would all wear all the time, like, my preference would not be all to wear together all the time, because for me, my head is thinking about like our safety, or even just like being judged or objectified or X, Y, and Z. And that's something that I'm still carrying, and I'm still kind of working, on my journey. But, oh my God, for any type of meetup, like, to support another person, or if somebody's like, man, it would really mean something if you wore with me out, like, fuck yeah, I'm wearing. Like, it's no fucking question. So yeah, strength in numbers, absolutely. I'm Jamie Perry. In parts of Australia, people look at me strange when I'm in black pantyhose, but in Sydney, nobody notices. Jamie, is that something that you're trying to articulate around like geography matters and cultural developments based on geography matters? And I think that's something we've talked at length about. All right, 3 more questions and I got to get going. So I'm going to let the questions stack up, but I need to get rolling here. As I said a couple while ago, I've enjoyed this. I got to go use some of this energy to go relax and recharge for tomorrow. an attempt to take care of myself. But I think this is probably one of the more successful lives I've had because of people honoring each other and having good commentary that I think raises different perspectives and preferences, highlighting how, there's differences there. And so I appreciate the discourse of conversation. Can somebody just put a comment in to push the chat up to make sure it's still moving? And if you're not following Jamie, Jamie wears a ton of tights. Jamie's definitely rocking Publicly Down Under by Aries. All right. Any other questions? I'm probably going to head out here. I'm going to go clean up and play some Nintendo Switch. Of course. That was a lot of fun. We have a good community that I hope we can continue to foster and grow. You bet. And I am going to do a scheduled one where we can kind of build a more of a narrative or kind of a question list so that it's less herky-jerky and stuff. But sometimes it's just, I love the ad hoc or the impromptu ones because it's just an opportunity for us to connect as humans and not really be overly forced. Well, thank you. And I really appreciate all of the support. And I think we all are on our own individual journeys and at different points in them. And, we all need each other in ways. And I think that's one of the reasons why I suggest finding ways to build community here in the tights community without creating rifts between the communities because of, reasons that don't need to happen. Meaning unity in the diversity of it, respect what people are doing. And if it's not your cup of tea, move a different direction. I love it. One thing I learned, Jamie, before I head out is that New Zealand was east of Australia. I, for some reason, always thought it was west of Australia. So from my understanding, New Zealand is one of the earliest places in the world to have New Year's, even earlier than Tokyo. Is that right? Yeah. And also a shout out for the trans men community. I know when I'm queer, when I was, on dating app at one point, I really was trying to seek trans men and make sure that I had trans men on my radar because I feel like that was important to make sure that I had those opportunities because I ended up not finding anybody to connect with, but it was one of those things. So yeah, I definitely support, the trans community to the level I understand. And at the same time, I'm trying to learn more. But I definitely learned something today, and I'm happy to speak offline as well in an upstanding way. Man, that's crazy. New Zealand. The only thing I know about New Zealand is the old golfer Nick Price was a Kiwi. And I don't know if Jason Day was from New Zealand as well. All right, friends, I'm going to sign off. So good to see you. Let's stay together. Let me know if there's anything else I can do to help out. Angelo is also willing to help, even though he won't say it. The reason why is because I know he loves the community as well. And he's been doing this a lot longer than I have, so I need his help. So if you're in need or whatever, reach out. Also, Aries. If you need somebody to talk to as well who's very passionate about it, give that guy a hit. Don't be a dick. Be a nice guy. He will help out. So everybody have a great evening. And there are no tariffs in this fucking community. We don't fucking tariff each other. We love on each other. Deuces. Boom.